Hey, welcome back everybody to another episode of D-Town TV, the free show for DSLR shooters. My name is RC and I'm here with the incomparable Larry Becker.
Hey guys, I want to start off by showing you a new class of cameras. Now a lot of times we refer to these, and I say we, this is kind of an emerging class of cameras. It's referred to occasionally as micro four thirds, but that's not always accurate. Sony calls their same camera in that class of cameras an APS-C, and they're referring to the size of the sensor. So basically what's going on is this is kind of the form factor of a point and shoot, and it's got a lot of characteristics of point and shoot. It's small, but then obviously it has this big old honking lens off the front of it that is not obviously point and shoot. This is more DSLR characteristics, but it doesn't have a mirror. So what you've got going on is you're looking straight through the camera lens, and the image that's coming through the camera lens goes straight to the sensor, and so that's repeated then on the LCD on the back of the camera. And the reason I wanted to let you know about these is because they really do have some interesting things to offer, a lot more capability than a lot of the point-and-shoot cameras that are out there. Some DSLR characteristics, and for example, the sensor in this Sony, 16.1 megapixels, and it's got an ISO, high ISO of 12,800. It's pretty noisy, but at low light, high ISO, it's got some extreme capabilities, and it's got a little flash on here that is detachable, and each of these cameras has a different set of characteristics. Now they have a lot of automation, but they also have a lot of things that a DSLR shooter might like. So who are these for? People moving up from a point and shoot camera who are maybe not quite ready to go all the way to a DSLR, or maybe you've got a DSLR and you want a second camera, but you don't want to step all the way down to a point and shoot and give up all of your DSLR capabilities. For example, shooting bracketed and things like that. So look at each of these. They each have some pretty cool characteristics. I'll show you one of my favorites on this, this Lumix. This is a Panasonic Lumix DMC GF3. My favorite thing is not the way they name their cameras, but it's got this really cool thing with the pop-up. You can actually pull this back and point your flash at the ceiling temporarily to direct your flash, and you don't normally see that on a little point and shoot kind of camera. So lots of cool little features, neat things going on in each case. Look at the feature set. They're going to be dramatically different from one another, and just something to be aware of, a new class of cameras.
Nice. Very, very cool. All right, let's go ahead and do this. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be talking to Joey Wright. We're going to talk to Celerina. I've got some stuff on handheld shooting. You're not going to want to miss it.
See you in a second.
Hi, I'm Lisa Snyder-King, and I'm on a mission to teach the world to create better graphics. I like teaching you the practical side of both Photoshop and Elements, things that you're going to use day in and day out, mixed in with a little bit of Texas twang. So you'll come on down and join me at kelbytraining.com.
Hey everybody, we are back, and it's time to check in with somebody who is annoyingly famous quick. I mean, this guy is really accomplished at a very young age. His name is Joey Wright.
Yeah, he just shoots phenomenal.
He is incredible, and that's what's annoying about it is he's so young and so good. Check it out.
Hey guys, welcome. This is Joey Wright here with a quick D-Town tip on using the ring flash. I'm here with my lovely model Samantha. On location, we found a nice textured background to shoot in front of. It's just a random door in an industrial area. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the ring flash, it's simply a unit that provides a ring of light directly from the source of the camera. So it's a little different than using your standard speed light. It'll give you sort of a shadowless effect. The other thing I have here is my battery pack that I'm using. This is the Vagabond Mini, both products by Alien Bees, which are very affordable. So whether you're, a hobbyist, amateur, professional, all within a good price range. So we'll go ahead and get started, and I'll show you guys how it's important to get a good distance from the subject, and the distance of the background will also come into effect with how the shadow around her appears on the final image. If it's not looking right, there is a power slider on here, so that's the important thing. Once I find my correct power setting, I need to stay in the area that I'm in, and so does the model. If we start moving closer to each other, she'll be overexposed. If I move too far back, you know, I'll need to adjust the light to go with it. So back to shooting here. Let's see if we can get a good exposure. I need to back up a little bit. That's another thing. Instead of turning the power down, I could simply move back. All right, we're at a good setting now, so I'm gonna kind of stand my ground in this spot. Sam, if you could give me kind of a more exaggerated pose, maybe throw your hair over your left shoulder. Okay, that way you can tip your head. Good. Very nice. Just a few shots here. Okay. And another thing I'll point out is the ring flash can give you a really interesting catch light. So we've got her with sunglasses on. As I look through it, I can see that it's in the reflection. So I'll take an image and show you exactly what it'll look like if we catch this light in the reflection, which would also show up in her eyes as well. So if you could tip your head back just a little bit, a little more. Okay. Very nice. And here we can see that there's a really cool ring in the image, and I think it adds a nice little effect. So just another small detail, something that you get out of the ring flash that you don't get out of your standard speed light or strobe. A question I get asked often is, how do I get dramatic skies in my beach shots? In order to do that, especially when you're doing a backlit shot, you're gonna need some sort of powerful light source. So we're using an Alien Beach strobe with a beauty dish. I've got Brandon here helping me hold it. The other thing is, the first thing I wanna do is expose for the sky. So I'm gonna get that right before I bring the light into it. Right now I'm at ISO 400, f11, and 1/100th of a second for my shutter speed. And that was a good dark exposure on the sky. So now I'm gonna bring the light into it to get Sam into the shot. So this will totally rely on the power setting on the back of the strobe. So we're at about 1/4 power, and we're gonna try that out and see how it looks. One thing, I'm using my 24-70 right now, especially when you're out on the beach. It's a little loud. It's kind of hard to communicate with your model if you're shooting with a 7200 and you have to stand further back. So that's why I like to get in a little tighter for these shots. So that's how we get a nice dramatic shot with the sky and the model both properly exposed. Remember, first we exposed for the sky, then we brought in the light, turned up the power to where we needed it, and together with that, we get a nice final image. I'm Joey for D-Town TV.
Thanks so much, Joey. And it's one of those things that he's got the right combination of like great attitude, phenomenal lighting, and rapport. It's one of those things that I think that's really, really cool. He makes you feel very, very relaxed in working with it. And obviously, he is mastering the light. So it's one of those things where thanks so much for being able to do that. Make sure you take a look at his website. We'll go ahead and we'll post that here in the show notes. But
speaking of masters of light, we
can't just leave it at mastering the lights on that one side. We have to talk about the incomparable Celerina, who does a lot of work on the Canon side of things. And it's just one of those things where it's like, Canon guys, you want to be able to follow a light master? This is the guy to see. Take a look.
Hey, thanks, RC. Celerina out here, and we're shooting some clips for my off-camera speed lighting techniques for Canon photographers. And I want to give you a thought. One of the things people don't realize about a speed light or any small flash is that its color balance is basically that of sunlight at the middle of the day. So if you're shooting late in the afternoon, one of the things you got to do is to balance the look of your speed light to the look of the sunlight. This is particularly true when you're shooting a headshot and you need a little bit of speed light for flash. So I carry a Rolodex here that's got a bunch of filters in it, and anytime the sun's low in the sky, I'm grabbing an amber colored filter and I'm going to put it right over the head of my speed light. with a speed strap to hold it in place, and that's going to turn the color of that light into the color of the sunset. So if you want to learn more about how to use your Canon speed light, be sure to check out my training videos at kelbytraining.com.
Hi, my name's Dave Black. We're working with sports action using speed lights. We started out track and field with a sprinter coming out of the starting blocks. Then we got some great feature shots of baseball from a variety of angles. Had beautiful twilight sky behind him, and then we'd like re-illuminate him with a speed light setup. We moved on to faster action with motocross, where we had 3 great professional motocross riders for us on a super course. We used a combination of cross light with the sunshine and then the speed lights coming in to make a real dynamic look. It's exciting. You'll learn a lot. So come to kelbytraining.com and watch my sports action with speedlights video. We'll see you there.
And we are back, everybody. You know, the reason that we're back is because of a really cool company called Kelby Training. They make this whole thing possible. Kelby Training is the place to go when you're ready to learn about anything related to photography, Photoshop, Lightroom, getting your images on the web, HDR photography. You've got a bunch of classes there.
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff, anywhere from website stuff to photography stuff, and it's just, if there's anything that you want to be able to learn on how to be able to get yourself online, how to be able to do photography, how to be able to do Photoshop, that's the place to be able to do it. You can get in, you can get out, you can do all sorts of training from the world's best instructors. Make sure you take a look at kelbytraining.com.
One of the cool things is it's more than just training, though. You know, there are inspirational classes there, like the one with Jay Maisel.
Oh, God.
Unbelievable. Yeah. We get rave reviews on that. So it's inspiration and training. Yeah. Very cool stuff. Now you have a really
I'm playing with this stuff here because there's a couple of things that I wanted to kind of be able to talk about. Guys, remember, this is your show. More often than not, I'll go on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at AboutRC, and you're Becker Biz on Twitter. I'll go on Twitter and I'll go on Google Plus, and I'll tell people, hey, look, what do you guys want to be able to see? Obviously, we can sit here and talk, you know, until we're foaming at the mouth about the things that we think that are really, really cool, but we want to hear about what you guys want to be able to do.
No, I just want to do my own stuff. I don't want to listen to it.
So it's one of those things where it's like, you know, I'm going to ask if there's a question that I could answer for you guys. That's absolutely what I want to be able to work with. And I did that a little bit here on Twitter. So I went on Twitter and I said, all right, well, what do you want to be able to do? So here we have Ake and said, hey, do you have any good tips for shooting handheld at low shutter speeds? And how do you work with that? And then somebody had said something else about blending between landscapes, and we got somebody else taking care of your camera or long exposure. So Andreas and Ake, and I'm only playing with him because he's a buddy that we actually met at Photoshop World. He and I share an obsession with coffee that cannot be broken. But so he wanted to know about long exposure and what do I do when my exposures get a little bit longer. And I figured it would be a good time for us to be able to kind of just talk camera stuff. It's actually very easy. More often than not, the tricks of the trade for long exposure stuff are right here for me. What I tend to do is I tend to just I carry this thing in my pocket all the time. I carry it in my book bag all the time. So whenever I need to be able to do something, it's always with me. The best thing that you can do for long exposure stuff is to carry a tripod. That's it. You know, a lot of the times it's very, very annoying because you don't want to be the guy that's walking around with the tripod and setting it down.
Right.
But take a look at this one. Take a look at this one shot. I'm going to come back over here real quick. And I was at Photoshop World and I was walking by and I was carrying my camera and I was carrying my tripod and I was just kind of ambling about. And I saw a restaurant and I turned around and I went,
You've been spotting those shots.
Let me see something right here. And everybody's like, oh, there he goes again, sitting on the tripod and doing this and doing that. And I was just like, no, it's fine. I'm going to try this one thing. I'm going to try this one thing. And I got this shot. And more often than not, the difference between somebody who's going to kind of do this and the person who's really going to do this is the person who's investing in the time. So the tripod's absolutely key. Worst comes to worst, I carry this one with me. I use Really Right Stuff products, so I have a Really Right Stuff plate on it. And the cool part about it is that the bottom still has a screw mount so I don't necessarily have to take the plate off.
Yeah, that's nice.
So this makes it a lot easier. Put this in your pocket and that'll take care of it. I can also shoot at the roof of my car.
I like this. I carry a Joby Gorilla Pod, but I like this because it's so much smaller.
Yeah, it's smaller and it's solid, and that thing won't move. The second thing that I do is I'm a big fan of Joe McNally, and we do a lot of work in the Joe McNally method, if you will. And one of the things that I've gotten really, really used to is doing the grip. We'll go ahead and we'll put a video link for Joe doing the grip. But in essence, all it is you're grabbing your camera, and I shoot out of my left eye almost all the time. And I started getting into that because I found that it was a lot easier for me to be able to keep my second eye open. So grabbing your camera and putting your camera this way, right, holding onto it, and then what I do is I usually just brace it against, you feel a little pocket right here between the shoulder and your pec. If you push, you'll find a little bit of a groove right in that one section. And that's where I position it.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, now you have a little bit of a cradle. You put your hand on top of this one, and all you're doing is rolling your shoulder up to be able to shoot. It feels a little awkward when you first start doing it, but the fact that you have it really, really braced together.
It's rock solid.
It helps on slower and slower shutter speeds. That's one of the other things that I do. The last thing that I'll leave you with is when you're working with stuff, a lot of the times, like if I'm gonna get on the floor to be able to shoot, I usually elbow down and then really, really tight. Try to bring it really, really close, really, really tight. So leaning on something definitely helps. So I'll hit the floor. If I have to, I'll hit the floor, or I'll do the grip and I'll lean up against a wall when I'm doing stuff.
And one of the things I noticed that you do, and you didn't just mention it, but it's really important, is you hold the camera really tight to your face. I mean, you actually literally press it against your face. And I wasn't doing that. And Moose saw me, and he goes, get your face up against that camera. And it's, again, very uncomfortable, like you were saying, but it helps stabilize in that additional direction.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't want you to think that there's like a magic solution for all of this kind of stuff, but it's one of those things where it's like technique will get you a very, very long way. And knowing how to be able to grab the lens, like a lot of times I tell people, don't put your hands on the lens from the top. Make sure that you put it on the bottom. It makes it a lot easier to be able to work. The only time that you would actually put a lens on the top, put your hand on the lens on the top, is if you're using a tripod or a monopod. If you're doing sports and you're doing a monopod, chances are the lens is a lot longer. And good lens technique would be to put your hand right on the center of the column.
That makes sense.
And then stabilize it down and then shoot that way. So those are a couple of different techniques. Obviously, cable releases and things like that. And you know, if you want to be able to make sure that you're shooting and you want to maximize long exposure stuff, make sure you take a look at the mirror lockup on the camera.
Right.
With a mirror lockup, you set yourself up, and then the first button that you press takes the mirror, moves it up. Then the next button actually does the shot.
Minimize shake.
Right, so that just separates the moving up of the mirror and then the exposing of the shot. So all of those different tips will help you with long exposures, and hopefully that can solve some of your questions.
Very cool, RC.
Not bad.
I like that an awful lot. Now, you also have a photographer we ought to look at.
That's right, Stefan Bollinger. Stefan, please stand up. Stefan's the guy that I met on Google+, and we were talking about. He's a phenomenal Australian photographer, and he does a lot of beauty. We actually started talking to each other back on 500px. So I was a big admirer of his work. We started talking about Google+, and on Google+ Hangouts, all of a sudden he and I became friends on stuff. So he's a guy that I think has a phenomenal look, really, really nice guy, and a great portfolio. If you want to be able to take a look at his stuff, make sure you go to swissphoto.com.au. Make sure you add the AU, because that's, you know, Australia. So that's a great website for you to be able to take a look at. Now, contest time.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and give something away. Why don't we give away the book that's going to be the runaway success of the year?
Yeah. You know, when he was making this, it was so cool because the concept is a little bit different for showing the lighting setups.
That's right. So let's give away a copy of Scott's Lightest Shooter Retouching. Yep. This is going to be the book for you to have.
Wait.
If you...
2 copies.
2 copies.
Let's give away 2.
2 people are going to win this. All you need to do is go to the Kelby TV website. Make sure you leave a comment on the D-Town TV episode for this one. Tell us what you want to see. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you hate. Tell us whatever you want to be able to tell us. But 2 of you guys are going to win the book from Scott Kelby.
All right.
Not bad.
Very cool.
All right. Well, let's do this. I think we're pretty much out of time.
Yep.
Let's get and pick this up next week. We'll talk to you guys then. That's RC over there.
And that's Larry. We'll see you guys.
Take care.